Chris snapped off a piece of corn, but noticed blood on his fingers. He looked at other pieces to see more drops attached, his body shivering from shock. He bent down to pull the corn away, finding Trigger's body, covered in insects and flies. His mouth dropped open, like he was about to vomit, his eyes bulging after aiming a worried glance towards the farmhouse. But he couldn't move. He wanted to run to the farmhouse, but fear had him by the throat, his eyes becoming shocked at the horrific sight of the insects scuttling in and out of the dog's body. "Sean! Sean!" he bellowed. Chris snapped from staring and ran through the field, stepping over the dog to see a path of blood-spattered cornstalks. It was like he was following the path, but all he wanted to do was get out of there. He started to become drawn to the trail, a moment of excitement racing over him to see where it ended. "Sean!" he shouted again. Chris heard noises in front of him, the sound spooking him as he saw pieces of corn swing from side to side. He knew he was not alone. He stopped to see more swinging pieces, the noises closing in on him. He looked down as the stalks moved by his feet, his face sweating from not knowing why. He sighed happily after seeing a few mice suddenly appear, but his happiness turned to terror after a filthy rat pounced to bite into one. A second rat frightened him as it sprang from the field to attack the back legs of the squealing mouse. Its legs were ripped off with ease as Chris stood horrified, seeing the rats fighting over the carcass. He bit his lip and gulped before avoiding their attention. He raced back to his car, opening the door and slamming it shut as he climbed inside. He turned the key, but stopped after seeing more rats in front of him rip into a piece of bloody clothing. "Fucking hell! That's Sean's work jacket!" He opened the door again to charge the rats, forcing them to scamper back into the field as he picked up the jacket. He screamed at them, his face fuming now after seeing the evidence to prove Sean was in trouble. "Where the fuck are you?" he screamed again. "Get back here!" Chris looked to his left and saw a boot, shaking his head, confused because it wasn't spotted before. He started thinking that the rats were playing tricks on him, sucking him in so they could attack him. He moved with more caution now, closing in on the boot, but the sounds were back, and this time bringing with it fear. Chris spun around after hearing something behind him, but nothing was there. He stared at his car as the sounds increased, his conclusion aimed at the sound coming from behind it. Sweat fell from him at speed, his nerves uncontrollable as he checked the ground beneath his feet. Each step almost caused him to cry as he approached the rear of the car, his face dropping from sadness after seeing a figure on the ground. The sight caused his legs to give way, and he stumbled against the car. The body had no face, just a skull, but Chris knew it was Sean by just looking at the watch on the dead body's wrist. He gave it to Sean for his recent birthday. He leapt onto the bonnet to slide over to the driver's side, but a rat shot from underneath the car and clung to his leg. Chris punched it in the head until it let go, but others appeared, looking hungry and mad to see him. He stared into the eyes of the nearest one, his mind capturing a vision of torment and sadness. It was as if the rat was a man-hater, but he couldn't work out why. "We saved you from extinction!" He swiftly avoided another attack from the first rat upon sliding off the car, kicking out at the others upon returning to his seat. He dived back into it, slamming the door shut to the sound of rats pouncing onto the bonnet. It was covered in seconds. Chris reversed the car sharply, trying to steer it away as the rats held on. He spun the car around and smashed it into the gate, his eyes closing as the gate tore to pieces to send wood crashing into the rodents.